tune, wonderful message. You don't know that song maybe so much. It's an old hymn, but you know, let's just sing the first verse. Let's just do the first verse one more time, okay? What can wash away my sin? Nothing but the blood of Jesus. What can make me whole again? Nothing but the blood of Jesus. Oh, precious is the flow that makes me white as snow. No other fountain I know. Nothing but the blood of Jesus. What can wash away my sin? Nothing but the blood of Jesus. What can make me whole again? Nothing but the blood of Jesus. Oh, precious is the flow that makes me white as snow. No other fountain I know. Nothing but the blood of Jesus. Okay, obviously we played enough. All right.
Robert Lowry.
It is now time for Logan to come forward. Logan, we got the handheld mic for him. Okay.
But yes, so it wasn't just me who went up. This is my dear friend Colby Wadle, and yeah, he's just a wonderful guy, very spiritually founded, and just an excellent example of a follower of Christ. But he was also just a great person to be up there in Canada too. He brought expertise in welding and expertise in running the skid steer and stuff like that, which we'll talk later. But it's just amazing to see how God used each and every one of our individual skills and differences and stuff like that to further His kingdom and to just glorify Him. So yeah, he's going to share a little bit about the people and what we did up there and share a spiritual story, and then I'll take over from there. Okay.
So this is the crew that assisted us on Sundays. This wasn't the same crew every single Sunday. This was about the largest helping crew that we had. So we were like, hey, this is great, let's get a picture of this. This is all the Sunday school teachers that helped us take care of the kids. Our Sunday morning service was about 10 people. And then after that service, it would be, all the people that were getting ready to teach Sunday school. We'd get together and figure out what we were doing before roughly 50 kids would come onto the res and we would teach them Sunday school. So yeah, most of those kids were there every Sunday, but then some of them most definitely not, just came for 1 week term. Go ahead to the next picture. This is what we did after Sunday school. Had fun time playing with the kids. About half our time was supposed to be spent with the kids, working with them. Anybody that come onto the reservation, we would stop the work that we were doing and play with them, have a good time, just be that stable support for them, since they had such rough life. And that right there is Roger, who is assisting us with this. That's on the skate park, and we definitely had a lot of fun on that. I don't think we had any injuries while we were there on the skate park, but it's only a matter of time. I mean, it was a great blast of fun. Go ahead. Took everything down that skate ramp. Bikes, skateboards, everything else. And yeah, he's falling off that roof on purpose. There was a trampoline at a house that was right next to the church property, and between church and Sunday school, the kids would run over there and play on the trampoline and whatnot. And then whenever it was time for Sunday school, we'd go over and we'd pick them up and bring them back. And one of the times we walked over there, and there was 2 kids on the roof, and they decided to jump off. So we're like, hey, let's take a picture of this. And no, Mom, I did not jump off the roof. Right here is more pictures of the skate park. the top left and the bottom two are kids, where the top right is one of the Sunday school helpers. And they definitely bonded a lot just trying to ollie off of different things and take different jumps on the skate park. I was not able to skateboard, and for other reasons Logan was not either. So it was great that Otis was able to be there. I mean, we watched him and, you know, took pictures and made him feel great, but we couldn't really skateboard at all. This is a really dark picture, but what is happening in here, this is one of the Sunday school rooms, and during one of the childcare times that we had, we just decided to sit down and draw things with the kids. It eventually turned into drawing tattoos on hands and stuff, so I had a really cool one on my hand. But yeah, it's just spend time with the kids, try to get them to settle down, because it's really hard to control the kids, especially when you get a large group. And so this was a wonderful chance for us to do that. I think and also play games with them. Twister was always a hit. You get Logan and I on the same board, it gets kind of dangerous, but we tried to keep it calm while the kids were on the board as well. During the Sunday school hour then, the younger kids would sing the songs that they did similar songs each week, just so that they could get repetition, so that they could learn certain things. But our class, the class that Logan and I were in charge of, was the teen and youth boys, and we did not do any of the singing. We left earlier than that so that we could have more Sunday school time. I think the next picture should be, yes. That is most of our Sunday school class, and we met inside the church one time, but normally we met outside. If it was warm enough, we would take them outside, and we would just work through a Sunday school lesson that they had. It was on the armor of God, and so we just took a piece and worked on it. One of the Sundays, we weren't very productive, kind of, because we realized that they didn't know how to look up different verses of the Bible. So we decided to sit down and just work through that and teach them how to find verses in the Bible, which turned into Bible races and a very productive Sunday school learning. But at first it was like, we're not going to be on track with this, but I think this is what we need to do. And so that's what we did. Right there is the full armor of God. AJ is putting on the shoes of peace, but he's got the helmet, the sword, breastplate, the belt, and the shield. And there's more pictures of the battles that took place. We were throwing pine cones at the armor, and his shoes kept falling off, but other than that, he was in pretty good shape.
Yeah, Karen had an input in the pine cones.
Yeah.
Yeah,
the pine cones on the reservation were pretty dense, and she was away on a trip just prior to that and found a whole bunch of pine cones that were really light and big. So she was like, oh, these will work better. And yeah, it's really dark pictures, but it was great. And this is not one of our teen boys, but there was a college crew that came while we were there and working through this, and she found the armor, so she decided to put it all on, and we're like, well, hey, let's get a picture of this, because we can. So this is going to walk into the college group that came out to visit us. They were there for just under 1 week, and Ben and their leader Jamie helped Logan and I and Roger outside with all of the outdoor projects that we were doing, while the girls mainly cooked for us, but also helped Karen with a whole bunch of other projects with the kids, and then did some outdoor work as well. This is clearing trees for an airport runway. I didn't really expect to actually be building a runway while we were there, but he said, hey, let's put a runway right here because I'm building an airplane hangar, I need to get my airplane down into it. So we're like, okay, this will be new. And so we were working through these woods, just cutting down trees to clear a path so we could put a runway. And where do you put the trees? Well, you have to carry them up and just take them through the woods and dump them in piles that are farther off the runway. So we were very thankful for the college crew that came out and helped us to pick up trees and carry them, because it was a lot of work. Yeah, you can keep going. You can see up at the far end is the house. It's about 500 yards away. Before we cleared trees, there was probably only 300 yards. So we cleared about 200 yards worth of 20-year-old tree growth. Can we turn more lights off?
There you go.
Ah, yeah.
It's a little better.
That's a little bit better.
The projector's just,
Yeah, so this is looking, this is inside the cleared runway looking away from the house. We can go ahead and go to the next picture then. And then this is turned around and looking back up at the house. So I said that most of the women's time was spent inside the house cooking and working with the kids, but they did get to come outside and paint the house because the guys were not keeping up with the amount of stuff we wanted to do. So they assisted us. This is the outside of Karen and Roger's house. You can see that the boards that they're currently painting look a whole lot different than the rest of them. That's because Logan and I built a porch that we're going to see later on in the presentation. But they painted the entire house with a lovely brown color, and we were very thankful for their help.
Hey Colby, we're going to try to increase the brightness a little bit.
Just give me a second, okay?
Not a problem.
Get more cookies.
Cookie time, yes.
Really? Sure. Sounds like a fun work project. You know, what else going on? You said there's, you know, it's a split level house. The entire top it's almost entirely carpet. That should be easy to pull up. And then my kitchen is tile. So okay, how big's your kitchen? We're calculating it and realized that it's going to need more than 3 hands to get this floor done. So we're like, well, you know, we know a couple of college kids that are great workers. Do you mind if we get in contact with them? Maybe they can come out and help us. And it's like, yeah, sure, that sounds great. So we contacted those kids and they said, hey, we'll supply pizza if you can come to this house at this time and help us pull up this floor. And they were ecstatic about it, and they came out and they helped us. So the next couple pictures are us pulling up floor in David's house. And we still did not get it done in the time that we were there, just a couple hours. But without them, we definitely wouldn't have even been able to pull up the carpet, let alone got the carpet completely pulled up, and the kitchen was almost completely finished.
We got everything except for a couple of the plywood underneath.
Yeah. Yeah, we pulled up the tile floor and then realized that there was linoleum under that, so we had to pull that up. So yeah, there was pieces of plywood that were underneath the cabinets. Other than that, we pretty much got it all taken care of. Right here is whenever we were over our heads because it was just taking forever to get through the tile. Like our carpet was up, but the tile was just taking forever. But yeah, it was rough. Hey look, there's a kitchen without a tile floor. Recharge time. So we definitely got burnt out quite a few times that we were there, just working with the kids. It was mentally very taxing. And so we'd had to find various things that we could do so that we could be refreshed and ready to go. The work projects weren't mentally tiring, but they were physically tiring, and so we just, we needed time. So we took a bike ride. This bike ride that we took with two of the kids on the res, and decided to hop on the same bike because there are spokes on that one, and I'd never ridden on spokes before, so it sounds pretty fun. So we tried it. We didn't go very fast. This was working on the wheelchair ramp, just have a good time, just have fun while we're having the work projects.
We get a lot done.
We did get a lot done. We did get a lot done. Okay, should be good. And we did cook for ourselves. We didn't cook very often, but we did cook, and I don't think we burnt anything.
Yeah, we don't
Yeah.
always cook, but when we do.
Yeah. I mean, I think the apron helped, but we definitely did cook. Okay. We had devotional time. It wasn't really organized devotional time. It was just like, hey, you know what? today let's take this amount of time and let's just have personal space time. And so there was an awesome fireplace at the house. We could sit on the couch in front of the fireplace. We could read through the book. We could, the dog was normally in the house, so we could pet the dog, just have personal time. Sleep with the dog if you want to. Suit your fancy. Yeah, that was the same bike ride. That was a fabulous idea until I had to stop. Then it wasn't so fabulous. But it was definitely a lot of fun and well worth it. These are wild horses. Some of the horses were at one point saddle trained or trained to lead. I'm not exactly sure. But some of them you could get very close to, and Logan and I have been able to pet several of them. We wanted to hop on them and take them for a ride, but we never actually got to that point. Yeah, so these are wild horses that were along the road during several of our bike rides. One of the Sunday afternoons we decided to take a walk because from the church we could see a ridge line, and we said, let's make it to that ridge line before we go home. And so we took off walking and came across the stream, and we're like, hey, you know what? There's a beaver dam. Let's cross on the beaver dam. And we did, and it actually worked really well. And we came back later with kids. We were doing an overnight stay with some kids, and we decided to go stargazing with them. We took them down to here, but it had rained since the last time, so you really couldn't have crossed the bridge. So we're like, well, oh well, it was worth a try. But I had never crossed a beaver dam bridge before, so it was great fun for both of us. Okay, so that looks like a black charred mound, but it was actually delicious chicken. Roger had a pellet smoker, and we smelled it for hours before it was supper time, and it was torture, but it was great whenever we were finally able to eat it.
It was so good that the camera caught two mounds.
Hey, look, it's a pet mouse. We needed posts for the porch that we were building, and so we're like, hey, right there's a stack of lumber, so we went over to get it. Whenever I pulled a post off of it, a whole bunch of mice went running, so I decided to catch one. And he was moving pretty slow because he was cold, and so I was like, oh, let's see if he stays in my pocket, and he didn't stay in my pocket, but he didn't run too fast, so we would get a picture. This is just more Devo time. This is in the room where Logan and I slept for the month that we were there. We slept on top of the church had an upstairs room with a bed, a futon, a mattress, and some cots.
That's when we went up the first time, that's where the girls stayed. Since they had all beds and this little.
Yeah, it was wonderful accommodations. Yeah, it was fantastic. But the Canadian Rockies. I hadn't seen the Rockies before. Well, I guess I did see them a couple times, but I never really got into them. And so while we were there for a month, they took us for a trip into the Rocky Mountains. We were going on a mission. We had a 2-day mission to get in, find a meteor that Roger had found earlier, and then get out. But we didn't know how much snow was there, because that area gets more snow than the reservation does. And so we did a flyover on a Monday, and saw that there really wasn't much of any snow. So we're like, oh, this is fantastic. Tuesday and Wednesday we can, pack fairly light, get in there, get the meteor, and come out. So we should be good for the next picture. This is whenever we showed up to start hiking. First thing we saw was a memorial to a hiking accident. I can comment on that later, but then we started hiking and went straight into the woods and found a whole bunch of spots that had this really deep moss, and it just felt fantastic. I mean, when you're walking for hours, you just find this moss just lay flat out. It was great.
Shot out his butt though, so I had a cold, wet butt for a while.
Yeah. We did have some stream crossings, those were quite fun. I had never backpacked before, and so to backpack, and then first day, have to walk on this spinning log, and then get to the other log and walk on it. It wasn't exactly safe, but it was definitely fun. Because it's really cold outside, and this is glacier water running underneath you. But nobody jumped in, so pretty fun.
Well.
Yeah, we survived the moose attack. We were walking down this trail and weren't sure if we were exactly on track of where we wanted to go or not. And so I stayed on the trail, and Roger walked ahead on the trail, and Logan went up and over the hill to see what he could find over there. And when they both returned, they both had bad news. So I was just kind of like, well, great, what are we going to do now? Although Logan did find this moose skull, so we're like, awesome photo op, let's do this. This is whenever we set up camp. Our mission was to get this meteor, which Roger had hiked this trail 6 years prior, and he found this meteor on the third day, beginning of the third day. And so he's like, if we pack light, you know, we can get in there, we can find it, we can turn around. This is where we set up camp the first night, our only night, and it was where he had camped the first night. So we didn't get nearly as far in as we expected, but that was partially because we got lost on our way in. But it was just a wonderful camping out in the middle of the Rocky Mountains. Just set up the camp and had this awesome bread. It was fantastic. This is on our way out. We decided to see a waterfall, and I don't remember what the name of the waterfall was, but it was gorgeous. You can see in the background on the right side, that's where we started walking into it, and so like the further we kept walking, it just looked better and better and better. We were taking 50 pictures before we even got to where we could see the waterfall. Like it was just gorgeous. And before the next picture, Mom, you might want to just close your eyes. We're ready. So this is the waterfall. And in the spring, whenever the glaciers start melting, there's enough water that where I am is just river. Like you can't physically be there, it's just water. And so we decided that right there would be a fantastic spot to taste the water. And it was a fantastic spot to taste the water. And then this is just hiking back out. That hiking accident monument that was at the beginning of our trip, it was a guy that was hiking along just like what I was with a dog, and his dog fell off the side of the trail and just rolled down into the stream. And rumor has it that he went down to try to save the dog, and then he either died on the way down or got hypothermia. We're not really sure, but he died in a hiking accident because his dog went off the trail, and then he went off the trail as well. So yeah, I mean it was a very steep slope. And I'll hand it over to Logan.
Yeah, so we didn't just do, well, to preface this, when Karen was talking to me before we went, she was kind of making it sound that the only thing we were going to do was put the siding on the hangar and work with the kids. But if you guys know Karen, that's not usually how it goes. And as it went on, like right before we left, she said, yeah, the siding's on the hangar. So I'm like, oh, great. It's going to be a month with these crazy kids. But we got there, and we were given 2 days of rest. Those 2 days of rest, which surprised me, because when we were there for a week, it was like non-stop. You got there, and like the minute your bags hit the floor, you were working. So I was like, this has to be too good to be true. And it was actually. These kids came and they didn't have a place to stay. I think their mom and dad and stuff were drunk, and it just was not a good situation for them. So they came and had a sleepover with us, but then in the spirit, like the group mentality that they kind of get is to be defiant and to reject you and just to be stubborn. And so it turned into just a whole big hairy mess, and yeah, it was not a good way to spend our 2 days of respite. After the 2 days of respite, Roger brought out this list of all of the projects that he wanted to do, and we're like, whoa, didn't even know that, you needed all that done. Some of the two biggest ones were the porch and the runway. Again, I had expected to work on the hangar because we built the majority of it in the 2 weeks we were there with this church. But we didn't work too much on that. There was another guy, his name was Luke. He joined us for a couple days, and we worked on the hangar for like a day. But so not much work got on there. But we built a porch, we cut trees, we did all sorts of stuff. So we'll go into a little bit of the specifics of that. Here's the porch. Keep going. This was probably the hardest part of the porch, taking this selfie. This is the last staple that we put into the plywood floor, and it was tough to juggle, you know, both of us holding this staple gun and take the selfie at the same time. Not to mention that duck face was really rehearsed for that. So here we go, here's the framework. When we got there, the only things that were in were these posts up here. And that was actually, that had been there for many, many years. Roger had the idea of building this porch and never got around to it. And so when we came along, he's like, hey, we got 2 capable men, one with carpentry experience, why not utilize that? And so he did. One of the things we had to do was cut the top rafters on the roof here, because our plan was to have the roof go from the post up to this other roof up here, so just be on top of this one. And in order to mount the rafters for that, we had to cut the old ones out. And in the process of making a porch, we also created a jungle gym, so we couldn't resist. Here's building some studs and framework for a wall. And you'll notice that that is definitely not code. Code is, 16-inch centers and stuff. That is far from it. But we're in the bush, so we don't really care about code. We're just trying to get it done and get it done efficiently. We used only wood that, well, really most of the wood we got was on the res, was on his property. Very little of it was actually bought. And if you've ever done anything with carpentry, in Canada they use something like, it's a square bit, I forget the actual name, but it is the most frustrating driver ever. You have to get it perfectly on there, and if you tilt it anyway, it just spins out and ruins the screw. So we ruined many screws and many bits with trying to get this thing done, but you can see the progress here. With the framework, Roger would sometimes kind of change his mind about things last minute after you've made a cut. And so if you go back one, I think it's a better angle. Okay, so yeah, his plan was to have plywood on this side, sheeting it and sealing it. And he didn't mention anything about cutting the old roof there to make it flush with the wall. So I was like, okay, I'll just sheet it and make a box around that. And so after we put the the middle supports on the new roof, and I cut the plywood out so that it would fit around the old roof, he's like, you know what? Why don't we just go ahead and cut the old roof off? I'm like, oh man. So it wasted, not necessarily wasted an entire day, but wasted a good bit of the day. And we had to rethink some of the ways to support that roof. Colby was also working on stripping the barn that's around there and using that wood as scrap wood to kind of make a wall. And after he'd spent literally the entire day, he's like, you know what, why don't we just use the fence material for that? So Colby's like, well, okay, whatever. But here you go, there's the fence. Douglas fir fence, or wall for that, so it's gorgeous. And yes, Colby is doing a handstand on the wall. Another one of the big projects that we did was the runway. And so if you see that strip in the middle, that was all done by us. The tan portion in the woods, all of that had been chainsawed and leveled out and, bulldozed, if you want to use that word. And then the green, maybe 50 yards down there, was just chainsawed so he could get clearance for the plane.
So the hangar, where's the hangar?
Right, yes. Okay, so you go up the airstrip and just to the right. And I'm glad you reminded me, because this is the only good picture I have of the hangar.
Oh.
I'm just kidding, actually, I got a little bit. But I did forget, I totally forgot to get a good picture. So it's kind of in the background of some of the other ones I'm putting out. This thing, good old skid steer, as they called it, 10,000 pounds for this little truck. This is a half-ton truck. They're not designed to haul that much. But sure enough, old Bessie did it, and it was a blessing to wake up in the morning and see Roger pulling in with this. And we were on just a spiritual high when this came. All of us were just like, oh yeah, we're going to get this done. Like one day, we're going to have it, just lickety-split. Let's get it off, let's go, And so he pulls it off of the trailer there, and Colby had mentioned something about the tracks not having as good traction as wheels. And Roger's like, oh, okay, that shouldn't be it. So Roger starts to zip away in this and starts to test, try to pull the sod up and stuff like that, and he just cannot get traction. And Colby and I are just standing there watching this, and we're like, oh no. Oh no. What we thought would be this very simple ordeal, rent the skid steer, get it done, lickety-split, turned out to be, holy cow, we're going to have to do this with shovels. It was that bad. He just could not get traction. He could not get it leveled and stuff like that. But Colby had done some stuff in his skid steer before, so Roger was like, I'm done with this thing. You try it. And sure enough, about an hour later of kind of getting used to it and stuff like that, Colby was running it just fine, and just pulling the sod up just right and leveling it out and stuff like that. And it was wonderful. There's Roger flying away with it. But there's Colby who actually figured out how to do it. And he was quite impressed and happy with that one, because it was this huge long strip of sod. I think that was probably maybe, I'd say 15 yards of sod. Most of it was just like maybe a yard that we could pull up and then it'd break and stuff like that. So he's proud of that one. Okay, so during that whole ordeal, Roger and I were in the woods clearing some of the trees so that Colby would know where to take a skid steer and peel these trees up. While down there, Roger almost chopped his leg off. He was chopping a tree, it hit some brush, and it kicked back. Thankfully, and God is wonderful, it went through his jeans and just barely nicked him. Literally 2 minutes later, we hear a weird noise and then like a beeping noise, like somebody's horn, and I'm like, uh-oh. I hope like Colby somehow didn't manage to get the skid steer stuck, even though that's really almost impossible. So we go running back, and we see this. And Colby quickly explains that he was pushing away the trees and stuff like that, trying to get them into a pile so that, the plane could land and stuff. And one of the logs snapped or something and came right through the windshield, right through the door, and just nailed him in the thigh. So praise the Lord for modern technology with glass. Had this been old glass, he would look like Swiss cheese. But B, just God's protection. If that door had not been there, or if there was more power behind that branch, it could have done a lot of damage. Or if it was placed in a different area than it was, it could have done tremendous damage, and that could have halted our production right there. Thankfully, after that, the skid steer still worked, and we were able to get some other stuff done away from the trees. And the rental company is very understanding with that. We only had to pay a little bit. So I posed next to it as if I had done it. And we sent that one to the rental company. So here's the progress that we were able to get done with the skid steer that day. And so it's just a tremendous amount of work, that just lifting all that dirt up there and down and cleared maybe about 10 yards into the woods too. So it's just wonderful to have that breath of fresh air. First part of the day, you're like, yeah, it's going to be great. Then it's like, no, it's not going to be great. We're not going to get anything done. And then at the end of the day, you get this entire thing just looking great. Like Colby was saying, when the college crew came, we did nothing but lumberjack for 3 days. So I should be able to grow a beard now. Probably not, though. Yeah, so we just cut the trees and hauled them into the bush there to get them out of the way, with hopes that we'd get another skid steer and finish the job. Here's David, or not David, what's his name, dang it? Jamie. Jamie, the leader of the college group, we gave him the honors of cutting down the last tree. Here's Colby looking all awesome, walking away. Okay, so another thing that had to be done for the runway was to level it out completely and make it usable for a plane, because had we just landed the plane on the dirt, it'd just get ripped to pieces with all the bumps and stuff. And so Roger gave us the project of building a drag, and Colby and I were able to put our brains together, do some trig, and figure out and design this drag. Roger even got his blowtorch out for us. And I had a little bit too much fun standing around. So again, it's so wonderful to see how God used each of our individual skills, like my carpentry background and his skid loader, skid steer usage, and also his welding ability. If you go to the next slide, I think. Because had we not had Colby along, I don't know how to weld. I'm still trying to get him to teach me. And Roger had gotten a welder, but he didn't necessarily know how to use it. So
That sounds right.
exactly. So with Colby, we were able to put this thing together, super easy, and just, yeah, it was awesome. With this too, one of the guys, Dale is his name, he works for the res, and what he does is he grades all of the roads and stuff like that, and makes them better than horrible, but not great.
Yeah.
But he has connections and was able to give us a grater blade for free, a 7-foot piece of steel that's sole purpose is to do this. And it was like, what? Who can even imagine that God would supply that for us? At the time that he did too. So we slapped that on the front of the drag, and we were off. We did a lot of other miscellaneous projects too. We did work on the hangar, top left there. We did some more lumberjacking, getting some firewood for Roger. I split my pants picking up a log. But thankfully, I was wearing my man tights that day. It was pretty cold. It was a little bit drafty after that. We built a fence, or at least finished most of the fence that he had posts for. And then down there's when Colby's ripping up the barn. We built a wheelchair ramp, which involved putting some sod down and stuff. And that sod was the sod he ripped up with the skid loader, so it's cool. Colby's digging holes for the handrail, and then this is Ocean. She's building a sandcastle with the dirt that he's taking out of it. There's the almost finished product. After we built that and painted it, we told Karen about it. She's like, oh, yay, this is great, this is fantastic. And then I told her, I was like, yeah, we only have one handrail. And she got all serious and was like, what? I need 2 handrails. I'm like, why do you need 2? So the next day we went out and put 2 handrails on. This is what the hangar looked like when we got there. So it was like, when the Team 2 left, none of this metal was on there. And so it's just the framework and the trusses were up there and stuff. And so we get there, Roger himself did all of the roof. And then with help, he did the sides. It's just insane the work that took, and the engineering to come up with a jig to pull the roofing sheets on top by himself. It's crazy. But Colby and I put up strapping, and we also reinforced some stuff, and eventually we put some metal on the faces there, the gable ends. So that's the best picture I have of right before we completed all the work that we did on the hangar. And so the gable ends are almost done. I think by the time we left, they were completely done. And the tracks for the doors were on, and he was just waiting for the company to get order the doors. He literally had to call them 3 times, or 2 or 3 times, and say, hey, did you order the doors yet? Oh yeah, no, not yet, we'll get on to it. Next call, oh yeah, no, haven't ordered them yet. Terrible business, but. Another project that we did was we pulled an axle on his Jeep. Roger was, talking about this, saying, "Oh, it'd be nice and easy. All you gotta do is, take some nuts off, pull the axle out, put a new one back in, and you're ready to go." Little did he know, we take the wheel off, and for some reason this has disc brakes and the pad brakes, or what do you call it? So we're trying to figure out why it has both. And we had to get all this stuff off, and it's just a whole ordeal. We finally get to the axle where all we should have to do is pull it out. And we find out that it's locked in there. And so we have to go into that little round thing called the pumpkin and mess around in some gears and some oil and get all dirty and unlock it, slide it out, and then find out that the bearings won't come out, which is what we had to replace. So when the bearings didn't come out, we tried everything, and as a last resort, Roger got his blowtorch out and torched the bearing assembly, and finally got it out, but in the process blew a hole in the housing. But not to worry, we fixed it with silicone and duct tape. By golly, it works now. One of the most adorable girls who stole my heart was little Ocean. On the res, it is very rare to find innocent kids. Pretty much all of them have been abused in some way, whether physical, whether emotional, mental, you name it, they've seen it, they've had to experience it. And it is just sad to be around kids that don't know joy, that don't know innocence. You can feel it without even knowing it. You can feel that there is a difference between Ocean and other kids. Ocean, Child Services took her away from her family, and she was living with a Catholic family for a while. Why Child Services chose her, I have no idea. But that Catholic family was probably one of the best things that happened to her, because she has innocence. B, look at her shirt, very sweet. That just defines her personality. She is so very sweet. Like, she runs around with a smile on her face. She says, "Hey," you say, "Hey, Ocean." She's like, "Oh, hello." And Roger, when she comes in the house, like, "Do you want a purple spanking or a blue spanking?" He's like, "I pick a blue spanking." This is the cutest thing ever. Keep going. And she painted my nails one time. And of course with that, she had to pick like 5 different colors. So I have blue, I have like pearl, pink, sparkly. And then after that was done, they started to peel off. She was like, "I want to do it again." I'm like, "I'm preaching tomorrow night." She helped us with the fun. Another thing that kids don't do is they have no sense of work, or like what work is, or the joy that can come out of working. I know, like, for some of us, like, work, ooh, that definitely was my old job. But there is a sense of, like, you did something. There's like this sense of like accomplishment after you do something. And so Ocean would wander over here and say, "Hey, what you doing?" We're like, "Oh, we're making a fire." Like, "Oh, can I help?" "Sure." So Colby taught her how to snap sticks. And she would draw and stuff like that, and just be a child. Carry around. There's the latest. I only date zombies. I helped her start a nail. Tricking her into that was helping, but kind of wasn't. It was a scrap piece. She did help to dig the post holes, but unfortunately all of the dirt had kind of been taken out that she could get, so she's just dropping it down, pulling up, it was empty, and then dropping it, and I was like, whatever. But yeah, so I share Ocean with you because, like, she needs prayer. Child Services or whatever dropped the case or something, so now she's back with her original family, and I am very concerned for her that she will quickly lose her innocence and quickly digress into how the other kids act. And I don't want that. And so I was talking to Karen about this too, and I was like, we need to pray for Ocean. What can we do to kind of help her out? But she said something kind of interesting as well. Many people, myself including, we pray for the children. We pray for the little girls especially who get abused in terrible ways. We pray so hard for them, for the victims. But we never really pray for the doers. We never pray for the, losing my train of thought there, but we don't pray for the guys who are abusing people. We don't pray for all of these perpetrators, I think, yeah, there you go. All of these perpetrators that are doing the deeds, and that is who needs prayer too. Because we can pray that the victims of a problem will be safe and stuff like that, but if we don't pray for the problem, that problem never gets lifted, and it's always there. So I encourage you guys to not only pray for Ocean, because she definitely needs it, but also pray for the young men on the res and the young women on the res too. Just pour your hearts out for them. Yeah. So that's my encouragement. Another thing I want to share too is just we serve a wonderful God. Like insanely wonderful. God is our Father, and like we are His children. You know, it says in 1 John 3:1, how great is the love the Father has lavished on us, that we should be called children of God. And that is what we are, children of God. The reason the world does not know us is that it did not know Him. So being a child of God, we have these benefits. God isn't just, yeah, you're my child, and now I'm going to walk away like most res parents. God is the perfect Father. He says, hey, how you doing, bud? And He stays with you. He mentors you. He's there omnipresent. He knows your problems. One problem that people have with our worldly dad is not being present. But God is omnipresent. When you are having a rough time, He's there. Another thing He is a protector. During all of our projects and stuff like that, we were exposed to risk. And as much risk management as we tried to do, things still happen. For instance, with the chainsaw, everybody had an encounter with the chainsaw that we either got minorly hurt or very close to it. Roger being one of them, Ben being one of them, myself, I didn't get hurt, but it was a close to kick back and kind of scared me. But see, as we went through that, none of us got hurt. All of these things that could have turned very, very bad in an instant and shut down all the service we were doing, none of that happened. Even when the chainsaw hit our leg, nothing happened. Ben hit his leg with the chainsaw. Roger hit his leg with the chainsaw, and the only thing that happened was a little skin being peeled up. That the bleeding stopped within 2 minutes. Just wonderful stuff. With Colby, with the skid steer, a log going through the window that really, if it would have hit anywhere else besides where it did, it would have done a lot more damage, or had the glass not done its job and shattered in a safe manner, it would have taken him out. God is wonderful. He protects us. Not only does He protect us, but He allows us to continue forward with our work. We didn't just stop when that happened and say, okay, I'm done. This is like super scary stuff. And we don't have the capability of going. God provided a way that we could continue our work there. He provided another skid steer later that we were able to complete the project. With me, one of the last weeks there, right when we built that swing that we saw, I found out the hard way that you need a buddy, because I did get wrapped around it and hurt. But later, I was with one of the girls from the college team, and she really wanted to go swing. I'm like, all right, I'll go. And so I grabbed the rope, and I was like sprinting around the tree to swing her out. And at full force, my foot just nails into this log, and I just on the ground. And I felt bad because then she didn't have a buddy to stop her. So she's like, ah! And so she got hurt too. So sorry. As we say in Canada, sorry. But yeah, so I get up after that, I'm like limping around, I'm like, man, this kind of hurts. But it was okay for a little bit. And after lunch and after this college team left, it got to the point where I couldn't walk on it. I was like bedridden, and I'm like sitting there with eyes propped up, and I'm in excruciating pain. Like, took me back to when I broke my ankle. I'm like, wow, this hurts. Colby had to like hobble me around and stuff like that up the stairs, and I was just glad I could take a shower without his help. You know, we lived with each other for a month, but still, there are boundaries. But you know what happened? So I was getting super concerned because we still had an entire week of work that had to be done, and so much had to be done, and every single bit of it involved feet. Even cooking involved feet. I couldn't help misremember. So I'm like, God, why did you let this happen to me? Why am I crippled? You know, I don't want to be bedridden for this last week, not being able to help my brothers, not being able to serve you. Heal me. And I know I sent a prayer chain out, which, oh my word, thank you guys for your prayers. Like, they meant so much to us. I know Pastor had it where you guys were fasting for us each day and stuff like that. That's fantastic. Thank you guys. With that prayer chain, you actually not only blessed us, but you blessed other people as well. I'll leave it at that. But yeah, so I sent it out to the prayer chain. I prayed to God, and you know what? The next day, I woke up. I could walk. Like literally, I was walking out with a teeny bit of limp. And by the end of the day, I was literally walking around, running around. God is awesome. This is the God we serve. God is sovereign, and He doesn't care about biological processes that say, okay, it takes so many months to heal from this injury. God's like, okay, my servant is in need, my son is in need, I'm going to heal him. And He did. And so we were able to continue that week, pushing full force, chainsawing and moving trees and stuff like that with that. And just, God is wonderful. So I just want to leave you guys with that. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them now and answer them and stuff like that. We will be glad to do it. So, thank you. We did not get that up, but we did post with it. Still not up. That was one of the things we were going to do, never got up.
Stacy spent a lot of time.
Oh yeah, you gotta let it go.
Is there any other question you have for Logan or Colby?
I want to be careful in the way I say this, because careful, like with a chainsaw, like pride is a very careful thing to deal with. But I want to say that on behalf of the church, we are so very proud of the work that God has done in and through you guys. So praise the Lord for that. I mean, amen. Thank you very much for what you did. And if you can kind of see the whole year all together, and the people who are there for the certain particular projects, up at a place where it's far away to go get extra supplies or extra people to do whatever you need to do. And it's just wonderful. Team 1, Team 2, you guys up there, the people who came right after us too, spiritually, the work they were doing prayer-wise. I mean, it's just wonderful how God has done so much with that. And I was just thinking, listening to your presentations, like, oh, praise the Lord, what God's doing there. I want to go back next year, you know? I mean, like,